Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Monday, September 25th business meeting, and we'll get right down to business with HR.
Good morning, Commissioners. Jessica Warren, Human Resources. I do have one request today, and that comes from the coroner's office. She has a candidate for her open investigator position who has 10 years experience plus a master's degree. So she would like to start her at step 3.
Out of how many steps?
7 steps.
10 years experience?
No, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, well,
Okay. Thank you.
I think she was informing us.
No, this would be an approval because it's above a step 1.
Okay.
So. And then the only other item I have is an executive session for performance of a public employee.
You want to do that at the end of this part, or do you want to do that now?
The end's fine. Either way works.
What do we have that we would be holding up if we, I'd probably prefer to take care of normal stuff and then,
Yeah, that's fine.
okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Budget.
Good morning.
Okay, Kathy Funk Baxter, Finance Director. We have a public hearing next week, October the 3rd, to go over a budget amendment. And so what I'd like to just discuss with you today is I've put together a preliminary of those items that will be on the public hearing. The major one really is, most of them are minor. A lot of them have to do with reducing one line and increasing another line. So they offset each other. But there's really only a few that are significant. And one of those is transfer out to the risk management area. And I had discussed this with y'all at a previous workshop that appeared over the course of the last few years. We have not been setting aside enough in the risk management account to account for all of the increases in the risk pool charges. And so that one is a request to amend the budget. And because that has to do with previous years and can't affect this current year's billing, I'm asking for a transfer out from the general fund to subsidize the risk management enterprise fund to the tune of $800,000. So that's something we had previously discussed in a workshop specifically on risk management. So that's basically the most significant item. There was another item, 2 other items. The coroner had previously a few weeks ago requested 2 positions be added to the budget. And so this amount for about $28,000 reflects that for the remainder of this year. And then also when reviewing the public attorney, prosecuting, it says public, but it should say prosecuting attorney's office department, discovered that extra help budget had not been put in for this year at all. And that was a $48,000 item that needs to be amended. So basically for the general fund, 3 major adjustments are needed. Then when we go to other funds, we're setting up a new fund for the sheriff Bearcat expense. And so that one has previously been combined with the sheriff's office general fund. And what we're wanting to do is separate that out So it has its own fund because it involves other entities. As you see, law enforcement for Longview, Kelso, Kalama, Castle Rock, Woodland, which contribute to that. And they have previously committed amounts that need to be brought forward out of the general fund to the tune of about $30,000. And then otherwise, the rest of the funds are predominantly in and out. Another major one is tourism, and they would like to request to have some additional grants awarded to the cities for tourism activities. And that would be $150,000. That's on page 3 of the amendments. And then also the risk management would be receiving the transfer in of $800,000 from the general fund. And then industrial accident would like to amend their fund balance. It's basically an in and out though. So that total was wrong. I'm gonna have to fix that. So that covers most of the budget amendments. This is a preliminary. I'm still finalizing it. And we'll have it submitted for the agenda item by tomorrow at the deadline. Are there any questions? I know I went over a lot.
Yes, so the 800,000 transfer. I don't remember that from the workshop and I might have missed it. So sometime let's get together. You can review what those
Okay,
are. That's a big chunk. So,
yes,
and we'll probably have to be a little bit strategic not to violate any legal restrictions on settlements, I'm assuming.
Could you tell me a little bit more about the tourism grant?
okay, on the tourism, they have, there's quite a bit of money that we've only been transferring. There's the sale, it's called the, what sales tax is it called? It's called, I can't remember the title of the sales tax, but half of the sales tax, it's called the lodging sales
yeah,
sales
that's right.
tax. Half of it goes in straight into the tourism account, and half of it is going in currently into the cumulative reserve account. And then from that account, we've been transferring a small annual portion, about $60,000 out of that, over to tourism to help support tourism activities. 100% of it has to be spent for tourism, either operations, advertising, marketing. It can actually be spent on tourism facilities as well. But we haven't been spending all of the half that's going into the cumulative reserve fund. And so their group, there's an advisory group that looks at their grants applications. And so they were requesting, they were requesting if they could have more additional funds to award for the cities versus nonprofit entities to promote tourism.
So this 150 still comes out of the lodging tax.
Yes, it
Yeah.
does. And it's
Yeah.
specifically for that purpose, and it would still be used for that purpose, but it
Yeah.
would be distributed to the
We're
cities.
familiar with that. We
So-
actually haven't seen it in a while.
No,
have we?
it hasn't been for a while. I think Joe was the chairman of the lodging tax committee the last
Yeah.
time they made a recommendation. But for your information, there are two lodging tax authorizations. One is similar to what cities get and the
Mhm.
county gets. It's a percentage based on those hotels. But we, years ago, we secured legislation that took the other half from the cities. And part of that deal was that we would then use that money to promote tourism at Mount St. Helens, which had been taken over by the state, and they were dropping that program. We said, wait a minute, we still need to have that going on. And I'm assuming a major part of the tourism budget is still going to promote Mount St. Helens, airline magazines and those kinds of things. But we haven't had a report on that for quite a while. So I think you might, we probably need to.
I think we use some funds also to support the visitors bureaus of the various municipalities.
Right. And one of the other things that we decided to do is to be very supportive of community celebrations and community activities, festivals and so
Yeah.
on. And so, yeah, and that's what we haven't been seeing recently. Originally, that $60,000 amount was called the big idea, and it was a rotating thing, and it got very cumbersome to administer. So we kind of phased that out, but.
So we should expect, this is a real 150K that the lodging tax advisory, the LTAC wants to deal with, and they must spend it before the end of the year.
They would like to
Oh, they
have
would
it,
like to, but they're not
Yeah.
really required because
No.
there's not much time left.
right,
Okay.
right. They would like to, and tomorrow in the budget workshop that we have a time slot for Kim Bocut to come and speak about those funds that she oversees. And and she has this in her presentation as well.
So is it correct for me to interpret the $846,044 as subtracting the 800? It's everything else nets out to a negative 46,044.
I need to double check. I'm still, that's preliminary because I need to make sure all my formulas are working right.
Got
So I
it.
didn't have the
Okay.
time this morning to double
Yeah.
check that. So
I think this is,
I think it's a little higher because I've got 16, 28 and 48. So it should be more like 50, 60, should be more like $70,000.
yeah,
There's a
that's why
formula
I'm
error.
asking.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
By the way, I find this extremely useful. How about you?
It's helpful.
Yeah.
Good reminder.
Okay.
And so this is an amendment to this year's budget.
This is amendment to the 2023 budget.
Right.
Yes.
And it's the next to last one. The next one comes
I
in
really
February.
hope so.
Well, we always have one in February to balance everything up because bills come in late.
Right.
Right.
So if looking at history, it looks like you typically have possibly a November amendment and y'all had a December amendment last year. My goal is to only have one more amendment. And then, yes, there's usually a February amendment as well of the next year.
So the date for the amendment is October 3.
Yes, it's next week. And so that's why I wanted to just give you a little workshop today on the items that would be included in that public hearing.
Okay, thank you. Anything else?
Well, we may, I've been discussing with the finalist for a risk manager. And so I had a discussion this morning. And so I have a few things to work out and wrap up before we finalize that hiring. So, but everything's looking positive and I'm hoping to have a new person on board in October.
So we should be hearing something quite specific this week
Very
or next
specific.
week?
Hopefully this week.
Excellent.
Good.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. So, and on risk management, we also have been working with the state auditor on some questions about workers' comp and also questions about, I think it's just the workers' comp right now. So I spent about 3 hours with them last week. So trying to wrap up everything that they need to finish their audit work.
Okay, thank you.
Super.
And,
Thanks.
and we have budget workshops tomorrow and Wednesday. And we
That's
should
in
be,
the afternoon tomorrow.
yeah, so those are the workshops for the departments, and all the departmental workshops should be finished by Wednesday. And then after that, the next workshop is on IT requests. There are not very many, but there are a few. And then followed with personnel. So those are the next ones up and coming.
Any other questions, Dennis?
Nope, thank you.
Okay,
you.
thank you.
Corrections? Marin, are you on Zoom? You're zooming in is what you mean. In person, yes.
Good morning, Marin Fox, Director of Corrections. The population this morning was 215. We had 36 bookings over the weekend.
215,
15.
okay.
We're seeing the population decline a little bit. I'm not entirely sure why, but we were averaging closer to 250 for a while. Of the 36, there were 9 bookings for DUI, 6 for drug possession, and 8 for shoplifting. Some of those overlap. They could be
Oh, okay.
shoplifting and controlled substance. I don't really have anything else to report unless there are questions.
A question for you. I don't know. I get the impression that Longview is putting more people in your facility.
Yes, that's accurate.
And how is it that we go down in number then?
I'd have to look at the trend on bookings. The daily bookings are up, but the releases seem to be matching or outpacing,
Okay,
which would make sense if Longview's booking for more misdemeanors, and misdemeanors typically are going to process in and out rather quickly.
all right. And 6 drug and 8 shoplifting, but they're not unique.
Correct. Yep.
It's all a consequence of their changes in how they deal with the homeless,
Yes. I mean,
enforcing the law and making sure
Right.
they don't develop an alternative campground somewhere.
right. Say in, 2019, 2020, you wouldn't see any bookings for unlawful camping or possessing a shopping cart. Those type of things were kind of unheard of, and now we're really frequently getting bookings like that.
But your comment confuses me. You didn't mention any illegal camping.
I didn't look. There were some bookings for illegal.
There were
camping over
some
the weekend.
illegal
Mhm.
camping bookings. Okay. And generally they come in until arraignment and then they're out on bail?
It's case by case that the judge makes that decision. Some people are released on misdemeanors. Pretty frequently, they're released PR'd, personal recognizance, and given a court date.
Okay.
They can, sorry.
So the only time they're really in jail for more than a day is going to be on the weekends.
Perhaps, or if they're seeing, what I'm seeing with the judges, that if they're being booked repeatedly, they'll set a bail amount on the misdemeanors
Okay.
as well.
This 215 is a number as of 8 a.m. today or something like
Yes,
that?
yeah, around that, yes.
Okay, so that probably throughout the day is the court mates probably will go down.
Yes, it will absolutely go down. Yeah.
Okay,
I'll look at it. Maybe I'll shoot you an email later and tell you what the count is at the end of the day, but it'll be lower.
any other issues that,
But we're still plugging away at hiring. We have a number of positions open. We did start an employee who was from Larch Mountain, from the layoffs there. We have another one in process from Larch, so we're trying.
okay, so you're not fully staffed. You haven't been for a while, right?
Correct.
How short are you now?
I believe we're 5 positions down. Yes, 5.
Does that translate into overtime?
Yes. Yes.
Is that unhappy overtime or happy overtime? In the sense that some people like the overtime pay and are quick to volunteer, and then other ones are like, look, I got a family.
Right. A mix.
Okay, so
sometimes
it
we have
isn't all
forced.
bad.
Right. Sometimes we have forced overtime, but
Okay, thank you.
it isn't all forced overtime.
Any other questions?
Nope.
All right. Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. Kim Hort, IT Director. I wanted to give an update on the phone project. We are still following our timeline. This morning, Jake Fleshman was able to run the Avaya and Cisco system in parallel over at the Hall of Justice. And so that means that.
Could you repeat that more slowly?
Sure. Jake Fleshman was successful at deploying our Avaya and Cisco parallel. So it's kind of a phase as we roll out the new Cisco phones.
Is that for just a pilot group?
Right now, that's the Hall of Justice trunk, and then they're going to be working on an admin building trunk. And
So if I would go to the PA's office, I'd see two phones?
no, this is on the back end to where on the back end, we're using the hardware, I believe, for the Cisco product to do inbound and outbound.
Okay, so we're not doing simultaneous phone call systems at the moment?
No, this is kind of like on the back end, but this is
Okay.
a significant milestone for us. We attempted to do it on Friday. There were some technical difficulties, and then this morning Jake was able to work with our vendor and get things ironed out. We're looking at deploying the phones in 4 waves, and we're looking to start with the administration building mid-October.
No change in phone numbers. Yay.
This is later than you had expected, isn't it?
Yes, but it works out with our Avaya licensing. We're running parallel, everything is in contract support, so. But it is later than originally.
Right, so
planned.
you won't have to come back to us and say, we need to extend the Avaya, which would be the kind of the milestone that you're trying to avoid.
Correct.
Okay. And so when you say mid-October, you're talking about that at that time frame, everybody's office will have a new phone?
In waves, yes. So we're doing like the administration building first in the first wave, plus a couple of other departments that have requested to go first. And so I believe it's admin building plus the sheriff's office. And then there's kind of the peripheral
Oh, yeah.
campuses and then.
But you're beginning real deployment in mid-October. You won't be done till mid-November?
Technically on decommissioning the Avaya system, that will be more towards mid-November, but we will be on the Cisco platform, hopefully by the end of October.
Okay, thank you. More questions?
No.
Dennis?
Good.
I saw an email where your department was able to do an IPv6. Will you
Yes.
tell us?
Yes, that was actually my next bullet point. A shout out to Lance Hollinsworth. He successfully went on a test network IPv6, which is a 64-bit IP address. So it allows us to have more addresses and more direct connections. It's faster than IPv4, which is what most entities are on. So it was a significant milestone as well.
Yeah, it may seem like a trivial thing, but IPv6 has been in the specs for 10, 15 years. And it's one of those things, you don't switch the phone system overnight. You don't switch from a mapping strategy that's for IPv4 to IPv6 without tremendous amount of background work.
Mm.
And because it's an internet addressing, it does affect everything in the world.
Mhm. So Lance was pretty excited and did a shout out to the team and included Art on that. So the other thing that we're deploying effective October 1st is cybersecurity training for new hires. So kind of similar to the NeoGov platform, we will also send out IT cybersecurity training in a digital platform. In the past, it used to be informal conversation with new hires and providing paper templates, but this is completely automated and digital training.
Can you help me understand that a little bit more? What actually happens on October 1st?
That's when we're deploying it for new hires. So after the first, when new employees are brought into the county, we are going to do cybersecurity training for them.
Oh, training. That's the word I couldn't hear. Okay, sorry.
And we are finalizing the team's rollout. We have motivation to not renew our GoToMeeting platform, which is about $10,000 a year. So that would be a cost savings of just using the Teams. Aaron Briggs is finalizing team channels and working with departments to get that set up. So
What's the future of Zoom?
several departments, specifically the courts, have a preference to Zoom. And so my standing would be is that the county under our Office 365 licensing will provide Teams. And if departments wish to continue their subscription with Zoom, they can. It's more of a preference.
Okay, so we will handle both Zoom and Teams. I know I've had to do some Teams meetings for agencies outside, and my machine wasn't a happy camper. I don't know what that was about, but there are some training issues, I suspect.
Yes. And I think it's also comfort. A lot of what people use during the pandemic, there's more comfort into what they know. And so there's other platforms like GoToMeeting and WebEx. We're just trying to negate having 20 different meeting platforms and just go with Teams or Zoom. And right now I am working on the CGIS audit. So this happens every 3 years where departments that handle criminal justice information have a technical and business audit. So we're working with departments to go through the questionnaire and get ready for our audit in November. And that's with the Washington State Patrol. Do you have anything for me?
Are you good?
I'm good.
Thanks.
Thank you. We have at the miscellaneous point on the schedule here. Let me see, I should have asked whether there were citizen comments. I don't see any hands being raised. Let's go ahead and have that executive session then. How much time do you need? 15 minutes for performance of a public employee? Qualifications of an applicant. So what's the proper language to go into executive session? Recess?
Yes, we recess this meeting to go into an executive session.
So we will recess this meeting now to go into executive session for 15 minutes for qualifications of a prospective employee.
The board is extending the executive session an additional 5 minutes until 10:50 a.m.
Hello, we're back from an executive session, as is required. No decisions were made. Good discussions were made.
Hello again, Jessica Warren, Human Resources. I would like to request from the Office of Public Defense that a new employee start at step 4 of the deputy or of the public defense attorney level, so not the senior level.
I move approval.
We have a motion on the floor to approve a step 4 for the Office of Public Defense. Any further discussion? I don't see any hands up anyplace. Let's vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
I also vote aye. The motion passes.
Thank you, commissioners.
So we have if anyone has public comments, this is an opportunity to do so. Seen none. We close this meeting and start the 11 o'clock meeting at 11 o'clock.